I first heard about hospice when I was taking an instructor diploma program course, and Esther Potter, then, she was later DeWitt, was in the same class as myself, and that's what she was doing her program on, was volunteering and teaching hospice volunteers. It was really important for me to become involved with hospice right at the very start because of what I had just gone through and the lack of support I was feeling, and it was something that I had to do. I had to do. I felt like that was something that would fulfill my life, and it has. It has. I was in the second volunteer training program that was ever offered here that Esther put on with a couple of volunteers from the first session that was offered. It was a fit. It was a fit. It was something that I believed in already before I went to the program, and it was fulfilling. Part of the training involved non-judgmental listening and not a lot of talking, which I thought would be hard because I'm a talker. I like to talk, but it wasn't hard at all once you got into the situation. I had two people that I visited with. The first one moved away, and the second one I was with right through until she ended up in the hospital where she passed away eventually. When that happens, then at that time you had 1 year off as a volunteer. You wouldn't visit anyone else at all because you had your mourning period. You become very close to these people. At that point, Esther was looking for someone to help her with training, so she approached me, and she and I were always really good friends, so it was a natural thing to continue on. And I did volunteer training with Esther for about 12 years. She had been asked to be a volunteer coordinator, and that position too was volunteer. There was a tiny little cubbyhole of an office downtown, and she took that on, still working full-time at the hospital. She's a nurse and raising two daughters on her own. So she really had her hands full. We didn't get into the society until the founding fathers had got together and decided that if we were going to move forward, there had to be structure. And they purchased a house on 10th and Laurier. That was the first house that we had. It probably was around 88, 89 that it was formed. The next step was Rotary clubs in town had raised money to get a cancer clinic to come in here, and that didn't happen. It went to Kelowna. But they had to use the money they'd raised for a like project, and that's when the house next door was purchased. The city was beginning to know what hospice was about and the philosophies behind hospice, and we felt very welcomed into the community. I think I'm most proud of with my involvement with the Hospice Society is being here when I'm needed, being here and continuing to help, even though it's been, 27, 28 years. I think there is still a lot of misperception about hospice and hospice house, in that people come here to die. And some of that is true. Some people do come here for their final days. Other people come here and get their medications and their diets and everything else regulated that they need. They can go home as long as there's a caregiver there to look after them and to deliver their meds and that sort of thing. But often it just boils down to getting a diet that works for their bodies. One feeling I get when I think of hospice is it's a feeling of accomplishment. That's what we've accomplished here in Prince George over the years. It's a feeling of gratification that I have been allowed to be a part of this process and that I continue to do so.